Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsockеtradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
It's Coffee Ann here on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us Wednesday morning, June 18th. And my name's Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining me at the Coffee Ann table. We'll say good morning to John Ward. Good morning, John.
Good morning, everybody.
And also at the Coffee Ann table, former mayor of the town of Cumberland, Bill Murray, is here. Hello there, Bill.
Good morning, Joe.
Thanks for
How are
joining
you
us.
today?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Now, Melissa Smith from the St. Antoine Communities and Tim Draper are off doing separate things together.
Gallivanting.
Off doing separate things together.
Oh.
Tim Draper from Navigant can't be with us
Well,
this
let's
week.
keep that a secret, shall we?
Yeah, don't tell anybody now, all right? But they should be joining us next week. This first segment of Coffee is sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities out there in North Smithfield. And now, Bill, John, I don't know if you know this about Bill.
Uh-oh.
Growing up in New
He's
York.
older than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, you already know that? Oh,
I
okay,
knew
great.
that.
Yeah. Oh.
He's wearing a PC Fryer shirt, but he's really a New York Yankee fan.
What's that got to do with? Wait a minute. What's that got to do?
Those need not be
What's-
mutually exclusive.
I was a Yankee fan until the last 9 days. That I don't know what happened to them. They just absolutely fell apart.
Well, it was nice that the Sox swept them last weekend.
Let me confirm on this radio station
yeah.
that I'm not a Yankee fan any longer.
Wow. Well, I was.
No, I take it back.
I know.
Check your calendar. August is coming. He will
Once
be
a
here.
fan, always a fan. But what's your take on your rival? Trading off their best player.
I think
were you shocked like everyone else?
I was shocked, but I'm
Okay.
not surprised at all. Being a big baseball fan and playing the game and coaching and everything.
You must have been thrilled, though.
Well, no,
the best hitter
not as
gone.
much as I think it was a good move on the Red Sox part. Nobody
do?
will agree with me because he was bad news. He was pouting.
Yes.
And I told one of my grandsons the other day, I happened to watch every one of the Red Sox Yankees, which killed me, is that it was not fun. But I
enjoyed it.
watched him on 4 or 5 shots into the dugout. He sits by himself.
Does he?
He
Okay.
was not part of the
Of
team.
the team.
And I think he pushed them. You know, when you have a wealthy owner that goes out there personally to talk to him and
to
say,
Kansas City.
come on, let's be a team player and everything,
He was like, I don't want to hear it.
you know, he just ignored it.
Yeah.
So you're talking to a guy that's, worth millions and millions of dollars, and you're going to turn your back on him. But the worst thing is he's never attempted to get our language. As you know, he's been there I was at his first game at Pawtucket, and I was in the owner's box with
And he always needed
Trembuni.
a translator.
Yeah, he needs a translator, and I'm not knocking him. But how many years has he been there?
Quite a few.
Yeah,
Guys,
right. And
6.
and you don't pick up a little bit of the English.
Yeah.
So he's never been a part of the team.
Yeah.
And as I see it, and I think they just had enough of it, and they could dump a huge salary. So that's where I
I'm
look at
surprised
it.
San Francisco picked up the entire salary.
Right.
John, any thoughts?
I have just 2 things to say. One is I can just imagine Bill watching the Red Sox sweep the Yankees, and it reminds me of Dr. Smith on Lost in Space, where he'd stand there saying,
pain.
"Oh, the pain, the pain." The second thing is this is not the first time the Red Sox or any team unloads what they consider a cancer in the clubhouse.
Nomar Garcia
It's-
Parra.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
great players, but
Something's going
they're
on.
just not on the team anymore.
Yeah.
So it's time to split them out so that the team can
Yes,
actually
right.
function as a team without having to look over their shoulder and
right,
worry
and-
about
and-
that
and if
guy
you-
that's on the bench pouting.
Right. And if you noticed, not many have come out and said this is the players.
Yeah, no
Nobody's really
complaints.
come out.
No complaints.
No.
And
Nothing.
that tells you something.
Yeah.
And again, it's I coached enough, and if you have a unhappy person on any team, I don't care whether it's hockey, whatever team, it affects all the other players, and it affects the team play. And if you always hear about the teams that are winning, they're all together, and they're all they. In fact, I forget who it was. Just recently said one of the players' wives is mad because they're now. I think it's in hockey. They're all very close to each other, and I guess probably spending a lot of time with each other.
All right. And,
There is that.
And
the family members may get close, even though the players don't.
right.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem.
And John and Bill, you both throughout your careers have managed people and had people under you or report to you. I mean, how many times the Sox management, they asked Devers to do something, he says no.
I said, no.
And if you're managing somebody, how many times are you going to take no from your underlings
he's
before
gone.
you say
He's gone.
you're gone?
It's baseball, and it's just like when my brother was offered very young in his career in the Navy to be an officer, and he had no intention of being an officer, so he turned it down once, he turned it down twice, he turned it down 3 times. You're out.
Yep,
That's
yep.
it.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
going to be enlisted for the rest of your career. We're never asking again. Same thing with this. He's going to complain once, he complains twice, he complains 3 times. Bye-bye.
Gone.
And I use the same analogy. I don't know if you ever experienced it, Bill, but when when people act out and are frustrated and do something sort of out of line, but then they come to you, but they want some accommodation, or they're going to leave.
Yeah.
As a supervisor,
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is say, well, it's been nice having you
Yeah,
here,
that's
but
nice.
unfortunately, I agree with you, so just
Goodbye.
make arrangements to be somewhere else. Because there's usually that it's almost impossible to repair because they're asking for things that
Never
you
works.
can't
Never-
compromise on, and it just doesn't work out over time. You
never
might
wo-
save them for 6 months by giving them some money, shutting them up, but then the complaints come back.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. Let them go.
All
Start
right.
fresh.
So-
No, that's absolutely true. I had a warehouse down in Washington. I had a manager that performed very well, but he was a cancer down there. And I kept getting calls from all the people that were working down there. So I had a decision: do I have it affect 8 people that work for our operation with him? So I went down there to get rid of him, and this was a different twist because he realized. I said to him, I had a big talk with him. I said, "You're just killing your staff, and you're eventually not going to be a good manager." He turned himself around, and
that can
but you don't see that too often.
But no, and had he gotten defensive and
Yeah.
sort of
Oh, yeah.
held his ground, you
He
would
was
have just
gone.
had to let him go.
He had to. Yeah.
All right. Moving on from that, I just want to congratulate the Florida Panthers. They won the Stanley Cup last night. So I'm very happy Brad Marchand
Gee,
gets his
that
second
means we
Stanley
must be
Cup.
only about
How-
2 months
how-
away from the NBA finals.
That's right.
Yeah. How sad is the Bruins? There's a good case of them getting rid of Marchand.
Yeah.
And by the way, as you know, I follow sports very closely. I think one of the problems with Marchand was the attitude in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And he goes down to Florida, and look what he did.
Helped them win the Cup, so
Absolutely.
good for them.
He had well, I don't know what he did last night, but he had 7 goals.
He did not score.
He did. So he had 7. I think it was 7 or 8.
One of the players, Baranski,
Yep.
got 4 goals last night, and they won 5-1. So
Yeah.
a couple of them were empty netters.
It
So
just
anyway.
it reminds me of many years ago when it appeared the Red Sox were getting a pitcher, supposed to be a great pitcher. The pitcher would act well, then it would sink, and then they would get rid of the pitcher, and then the pitcher would have a Hall of Fame career practically
Right.
on another team,
I
and you're
know.
wondering,
Chris
gee,
Sale.
is this the
Yes.
players or
Sales
is
are
this the
good.
management?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. All right, moving things back here to Rhode Island. So I'm going to ask Bill this question. I don't know if you have any information on this. I'm reading this off Channel 12's website, WPRI.com. I don't know if Bill has any scuttlebutt. But a well-known Cumberland High School band director has resigned
I
following
heard.
a school investigation into an incident that happened during an overnight field trip last month. And that's all they're really telling you. Right now.
Feroci.
Michael Feroci.
Yep.
He worked for the Cumberland Schools for more than a decade, was placed on paid leave at the end of last month. And the superintendent of schools in Cumberland confirmed that, but he also declined to provide any additional information until a special meeting is held today because it's a personnel matter.
Which
but he did
means-
confirm that Feroci has resigned.
Which means you'll never hear more about it.
Never.
No. Well, I
do you
heard
hear-
that.
what do you hear?
Well, I almost fell over because I have the highest regard, and I don't know what the situation is. I have a very high regard for him. I dealt with him. The band was pretty much defunct in Cumberland. It was an embarrassment. I can remember going to a football game before I was mayor, and the band leaves before even the halftime. You know, they came for the beginning because they probably were told to be there.
Yeah.
Well, he took over and did an outstanding job. I just talked to him Memorial Day, went up to say hello to him. I always make a point of it. I really think he did an outstanding job. Now, I do not know what happened. I actually, on my list is to call a school committee person who I know very well, whether he will tell me. and I'm not going to,
Yeah.
force him to tell. He's not obviously if he's not going to say anything. He won't. But I am very upset about it because of the fact that he is a nice young man, did a great job with this band, and I looked at this band on Memorial Day. They played at the Veterans Memorial Services, and they had all these new uniforms, and they were outstanding. And by the way, for the first year, they weren't going to be in the Arnold Mills Parade because something has nothing to do with the Arnold Mills Parade, but they had another commitment if something
Had
happened.
to be somewhere else. Okay.
But they're always in the parade, so
Makes you wonder they're going to be in there this year.
huh?
Arnold Mills Parade's in 2 weeks.
That's right. I'm
they gonna be in
on
it?
the committee. No, I don't think they're going to be in there.
Channel 12 called Ferrocci's home. As soon as they said, "Hi, this is Channel 12," click.
Yeah.
He hung up immediately. So,
you think?
okay. He didn't respond to any texts or any emails after that. So there's a special meeting tonight with the Cumberland School Committee to discuss the matter in executive session. Immediately following the executive session, committee members are slated to discuss former teacher Michael Ferrocci, including a statement relating to his resignation, but only if Mr. Ferrocci requests the discussion in open session, and only if the discussion is non-segregable. Is that a word? From the discussion of others.
Never heard of that.
Last day of school in Cumberland's today, by the way.
Well, I think one of the key features of this is the fact that there was some referral to DCYF.
DCYF was
And that
contacted.
Yeah,
implied in that
that's-
means that there is something that occurred between him
And
and a student.
That's
who
what
was-
worries me.
Who was a
Yeah,
minor.
You're right. You're
and
absolutely
therefore
right.
the DCYF referral.
I forgot about that.
And that, unfortunately, all of the assumptions will be made about inappropriate contact between him and a student. And there you go. The guy has to go find a new footing for his next life.
Yeah.
This is almost like the same thing that happened in Barrington with the school bus monitor, that they were being charged with indecently touching a student. They won't go any further than saying
Right.
what that is. So.
And this actually makes this worse is the fact that it was an overnight trip.
Well, there had to be there had to
Creates
be other
creates
supervisors there. I don't.
implications of things untoward, as they were.
Yeah.
But I think there has to be other supervisors there.
Well, there should.
If
there's
they want an
usually should be
overnight,
other
that's a big
chaperones, yeah.
band. It's
Overnight
a big
trips, there's usually
chaperone is
chaperones,
the word
but-
I was looking for. But again, it's not the character. This guy, to my knowledge, I know he became the band leader. I want to say back when I became mayor in 2015. He could have been a couple of years later, but so he's been there 8 years, 7 years. So I just know the young man, almost not personally, but I know him very well. I'm just shocked. I'm not saying again that he didn't do something or did something wrong. What worries me is sometimes these group things is, say a kid has it in for him. And it
Maybe.
happens. How many times, John, you've seen that? Somebody has something, one of these kids have something in for one of these teachers. I have two daughters that are teachers.
Oh, that happens.
And
Absolutely.
and you got to think about that too.
But the part that he's already resigned, it just makes you think something bad has happened, and he wants
Well,
out.
you can also look at it. I'm not going to put up with this,
Oh,
and
okay.
and I can tell you, Superintendent Thornton, have dealings, is not an easy person to deal with.
Okay.
So I'll make that's my public statement.
All right. Before we take our first break, we had a note called in, 766-1240. Just back to the Devers trade. This team, the Red Sox, with the loss of Devers, has a punch list lineup. They will have trouble scoring runs. Last night they lost 8-0 on 2 hits. You're not going to score many runs on 2 hits. They do not have a productive or power hitter. They will be a problem unless they obtain an impact hitter before the trade deadline, which is coming up, and they got a lot of money, Devers money they could use to try to go get a power hitter as they wait for the young kids to, ramp up and be major league players.
Well, Anthony hit a home run
Got his
finally.
first one. That was nice to see. He's got
Interesting. Devers
2
is
hits.
going to San Francisco. You know where they're going to play him?
Third base.
First base.
First base, no.
Where did he not want to play?
First base.
They asked him,
I think
Wow,
that sums up
that's-
everything we just said, didn't it? And he would not play first base.
And the Sox play San Francisco, not tonight. I think it's
Next
tomorrow.
weekend, isn't it?
It's-
Yeah,
no,
the
no,
weekend,
no.
this weekend coming.
Mhm.
That's he'll
right.
probably hit 5 home
You
runs.
probably will. I know. All right, more Coffee and coming your way. We ask you to please stick around. This segment of Coffee and has been sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities of North Smithfield.
ON 1240.
You will always find great homemade food at one of the best restaurants in the Blackstone Valley, Missy's Family Restaurant, 801 Clinton Street in Woonsocket. They're open for breakfast and lunch 7 days a week beginning at 6 a.m. and on Fridays they're open for dinner until 7 p.m. You can always get breakfast all day long at Missy's Family Restaurant. And don't forget about their award-winning Dynamites. Missy's Family Restaurant, 801 Clinton Street in Woonsocket.
Hi, Zoe Saldana. Welcome to T-Mobile. Here's your new iPhone 16 Pro on us.
Thanks. And here's my old phone to trade in.
You don't need a trade-in. When you switch to T-Mobile, we'll give you a new iPhone 16 Pro. Plus, we'll help you pay off your old phone up to $800, and you still get to keep it.
There's always a trade-in.
Not right now at T-Mobile.
I feel like I have to give you something in return for karma.
That's okay.
I don't really have much in my purse. Oh, let's see. Hand sanitizer. It's lavender.
I'm good. Seriously.
Let me check this pocket. Oh, mints?
Really, I'm fine.
Oh, I have raisins. I'm a mom. Wait 1 sec. I've got cupcakes in the car.
It's our best iPhone offer ever. Switch to T-Mobile. Get a new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. No trade-in needed. We'll even pay off your phone up to $800.
With 24 monthly bill credits, new line $100 plus a month on experience beyond finance agreement $999.99 and qualifying forwarded. For well qualified plus tax and $10 connection charge. Pay off via virtual prepaid card below 15 days. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. See T-Mobile.com.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
ON Worldwide.
It's Coffee and here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with John Ward and Bill Murray from the town of Cumberland. And just take a look at other things going on around. And it's one of those things where, why does this take so long kind of thing? In Rhode Island, I'm looking at Channel 12's website once again. From lock boxes in North Providence to pouches in Woonsocket, bans on personal devices like cell phones have gained popularity in Rhode Island schools around the country. Now, both the Rhode Island House and Senate have passed statewide legislation. Identical versions of the bill received unanimous support, providing veto-proof path for the measure after the House voted on Monday. So basically, students will not be allowed their cell phones or their smartwatches or tablets or anything like that in school. But it doesn't start until September of 2026. And that's the question of why can't we start it up this coming fall?
I can only guess that it has to do with being able to access the supply of those pouches that they're going to use and train people on how to use them. I'm sorry.
Pouch? You can run to Walmart and hang those things that hang on
No,
the
that's
door.
not the kind of pouch they're using. It blocks. It's a signal blocking pouch, and it locks so that they can't
It's
open
a
it up.
special pouch?
Yeah,
All right.
but it locks, so you can't just take the bag and open it.
I've
if you
seen where
take
they
it
just
open.
stick it in, you're number 10, your pouch is number 10, you just stick your phone in that pouch and pick it up on your way out. Go
I'm
to your
not
next
sure of the
class.
process. Call Central Falls; they'll tell you.
Yeah.
They already do it.
All right.
Yep.
Bill, thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I would think it's typical. Anything that they pass always is like a year and a half down the road, 2
Yeah.
years to start.
And so you forget about it.
But
like the weapons
I do
ban.
say this because I got, a close. I have my grandson who's going into his senior year at PCs. He's an intern in Providence. He's been staying with his grandmother and myself. Never see him without the phone in his hand. My wife asked me the other day. He's a quiet kid, nice, very brilliant kid, very smart and everything. But I said to his father the other day, I said, Kevin, every time I look at him, he has the phone. I could be talking sports. He's a big sports guy, and he and I are watching actually the Red Sox game, and we're talking, and he's got the phone. And I never see it out of his hand. Sit down, and I'm not going to say to him, you can't have it at the dinner table. Look, my kids are out of here now. And my son made a good point. He said, how would you like to be his mother and father? So you have it. But my point being is, and some of my other grandkids, the younger ones, the one are up at Mount, and one is at Fian, they got the phone all the time. So I think I love it that they have some rules now and don't have that phone in your hand. The kids are, well, you see it, I'm sure, with your kids, is that they're obsessed with that phone being in front of them. They can't do basically anything without the phone.
That's why nobody watches network news.
Yeah.
In the article, a teacher talks about having a student in the second grade, watching cartoons on their smartwatch in the second grade.
Yep.
And already knows how to manipulate it to get to see what they want to see. I don't care what you're doing like that.
Maybe in terms of education, they need to mandate that any second grader that would come in with a watch they can watch cartoons on, the law should require that the parents also attend second grade so they can actually learn how to live life the right way alongside their child, who all of whom seem to be undereducated about important matters in life.
Well, did you ever go into a restaurant and see a family? Young family now? Do you ever see the kids always have a pad in front of them?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's their babysitter.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening is the babysitter.
You get the iPads.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. But
and the kid's quiet, so I don't argue
that's
about
right.
it.
But do you blame?
It's either that or Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Showing your age there, John.
No.
But can you put some of the blame on the restaurants? Because some restaurants don't pass out menus anymore. They say, the little tripod.
Scan the
QR code on this
Oh,
tripod
yeah.
and pull
That's
up
true.
pull up our menu and look at it that way. So
Except I don't know how to do it. So
I have a philosophy about that. When it says that, I say, no. Could I have a menu, please?
Yeah, yeah.
But then what do they say? Oh, we don't have any.
No,
We
they
don't
do.
have any. They do.
If
All
they
right.
do, I've never had that happen. But
No,
if
I
it ever
have-
did,
Get up and leave.
I'd be eating somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But by the way, I didn't say Kuklafran and Ollie, and I didn't say
No.
howdy doody.
Good. Howdy doody. Now you're going to get to my
That
age.
would have been
John.
his age.
All right.
By the way, speaking of bills taking too long to pass,
All right.
I was just reading my roadmap from Boston Globe and Dan McGowan, and it says that it points out that the House unanimously passed the payday lending bill, which has been going around for 10 years.
Yeah.
That they've been trying to get it passed.
Wow.
And apparently, finally, the legislators have said, we've had enough. It's time to pass it. So it was passed unanimously in the House. It's going over to the Senate today, so they're going to be considering it. And now that the budget's passed in the House, they could do that. So maybe it'll sit in committee in the Senate until they pass the budget. And then, of course, once the budget's passed, all of the promise exchanges get taken care of afterwards. So you get the flood of bills that get passed at the back
Well,
end.
they'll go fast.
And
Because
they
everybody's
pass right through.
paid their dues and done their duty.
No, they're busy. As I said, I was there yesterday, and one of the policy people for the governor is a good friend, and I know him for a long time. He was with Raimondo, and I said, "How's things going?" He said, "Don't even ask, because they got so much stuff flying around right now." And
Yeah, the governor's not getting everything he wanted.
No,
out of this
he's,
budget at all.
he was on. They played on the way in. They played. I was listening to one of the stations, and they asked him if he's going to veto this. I asked that question yesterday to this policy
I
guy.
don't think so.
It's too much damage to
Yeah,
try to do it, and it's a mess. And I don't even think with a veto that
It
they'll
would
override.
look like a temper tantrum. if
Yeah,
he did.
exactly.
There'd be too many dishes
Yeah,
broken.
I don't think he will, but he did it last year. They did the same thing. He had,
Especially with the fact that they're funding primary care physicians
Right,
through more Medicaid reimbursements and
cities
nursing
and
homes
cities and towns too are getting
cities
extra
and
money.
towns,
They're
yeah,
getting-
education
they need it.
funding.
Yep.
So if he were to veto that, it's like saying, I hate the people of Rhode Island, go
Yep.
back and do it my way. And it would seem like a temper tantrum.
Well, the shame of it is they've thrown 2 cents into the gas tax, and all the bordering. Do you think anybody in this area they're going to go over to Attleboro? I go. I
They go to Bellingham or Blackstone.
Yeah.
Oh no,
and
There's
ridiculous.
tons of people.
Yeah.
I see 80% Rhode Island plates in the Blackstone Cumberland Farms over on Main Street. Same thing happens in Seekonk. Same thing happens in Attleboro. all the
Attleboro,
time.
you go in there, it's mostly Rhode Island cars.
plates.
So it's
yeah.
two. If I go on Park Avenue right now, it's going to be $2.99. Yesterday, when I filled my tank, I went to Blackstone. It was $2.77.
I paid $2.60.
What am I supposed to do?
I know.
22 cents
I
a gallon.
paid. Well,
That's a huge
I have a
difference.
discount at BJ's, but I was $2.67.
Well, I have the,
Yeah,
10
yeah,
cent discount. It's
at,
$2.77.
BJ's.
But even without the discount,
Well,
it's $2.87
right,
versus
absolutely,
$2.99. It's
yeah.
at least a 10-cent difference.
Yeah.
The tax. And
All
then on top of that, the other one that's going to hurt, not every person every day, but the transfer fee on real estate,
Oh boy,
where it just went up by like 35% for the rate.
If you're $1 million
and
value,
$1 million, and now they got that
yeah.
new state property tax, is what I call it. It's if you have a second home over $1 million value, which is like everybody in Narragansett.
Yes.
Right.
If you don't, if you have a second home you don't live in, they have a state property tax on it now. for the value over $1 million. And you know, they call it the
Taylor Swift tax?
Swift tax, but it's not Taylor Swift. It's if you have a home in Narragansett. If you have a home in Narragansett, it's a U tax because you can't have a house down there that's not worth $1 million.
Oh, absolutely.
So these cottages that everybody thinks of as what used to be $10,000 shacks are now $1 million homes. No, that's a lot of money coming from property transfers, and it's going to hurt
old property.
They talk about promoting housing. It's certainly going to harm the volume of real estate that comes on the market as a result of it.
How about older people who have had these homes in the family for years and years?
Yeah.
And they now at the age they're in the 80s, they go to Florida in the winter, and now they come back to this, you know, enjoy their family and everything for a few months here, and you see a lot of for sale signs going up because they can't afford it, and they go down to the Cape, you know, any of these resort areas.
So they didn't raise income taxes, but they sure raised everything else. And oh, by the way, your auto registration fees are going up. If you've got a hybrid, you got to pay an extra $100. If you got an electric, you got to pay an extra $200.
Really?
And it's because it's to making up for the fact that you don't pay gas tax with an electric vehicle.
But electric, yeah, exactly, and that's their argument.
They collect it in advance every year.
Yeah, they're just not going to get that money. You know, for the if you have an electric car, you don't get the gas.
When I talked to Tom about that,
he
says, I love it. They got to do something to make up for the gas tax. I don't want to pay the bill on every highway just because somebody owns an EV.
Yeah.
And he's right. It makes sense. I mean, you got to pay some way. But it's leading to the possibility of eventually having it where nobody pays gas tax and everybody has to pay some sort of mileage allotment for the use of the roads.
I remember your brother bringing that up over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's the way it should be done.
Before there was even a Tesla on the road.
Yeah.
That's going to be a long way off before that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Long way off.
Yeah,
I can remember years ago in New York, they were going to charge them for people going into the city.
Oh, and they're doing that in New York now.
Are they doing it now?
Yeah, they've got a city.
This goes back.
They've got a commuter tax. If you want to drive into the city, you
pay.
No,
I didn't realize
and
that.
And it has cut down the traffic volume a lot in city. But, yeah, and a lot more.
How much is it to go into
Well, what it does is it promotes people taking the
trains. But, again, they have the transportation.
Right.
So if you don't have transportation,
they have the transportation and the businesses to go to.
Yep.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived up in upstate New York for a year, many years ago, and around me, most of the residents in the single-family homes, because they couldn't afford to live in the city, were police and fire, public safety people. And every morning, they would get on the train down the Hudson and get off in New York City.
Very true.
And they were commuters. The whole place was nothing but commuters.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Let's see. There was looks like a fight at Twin River. Bally's Twin River Casino.
No, I can't believe that.
On Sunday. And, and not between kids. A 54-year-old man from Massachusetts is charged with simple assault and or battery after a fight on Sunday, according to Rhode Island State Police. Troopers were responded for help from Lincoln Police to control a large disturbance. George Hooker of Boston's Dorchester neighborhood was arraigned by Justice of the Peace and released from custody.
There you go. All you had to say is Dorchester. Yeah. You wouldn't have to tell the story. If you just said Dorchester, I would have filled in the blank.
The rest after that. Well, you wonder why he's in Dorchester. Why doesn't he go to Everett? It's probably a little closer.
He'd probably been barred from there. if I had to guess at it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, and more coming your way. Time for the weather forecast being brought to you by Compassion International.
A 60% chance of showers likely in the early part of the day, cloudy for the entire day with a high of 77 degrees. Tonight, rain slowly tapers off, mostly cloudy, overnight low of 66. Thursday, Juneteenth, a mostly cloudy day, then gradually becoming sunny and hot with a high of 92. Heat index as high as 100 degrees Thursday. Friday, mostly sunny with a high of 82. Saturday, mostly sunny and 87. Sunday, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 90. Monday, mostly sunny and hot with a high of 93. And next Tuesday, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 96 degrees.
outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, where we have cloudy skies and 64 degrees. Imagine a child in extreme poverty waiting over a year to be sponsored. End their wait today. Become a compassionate sponsor. Text radio to 83393.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Woonsocket Door Sales, a fourth-generation family business, has served southern New England since 1935. They can handle all types of projects from the simpler residential installations to more complex commercial projects, always concerned with infrastructure and framework for the perfect fit. They even install doors for fire stations and medical facilities. Installation and repair. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448. They'll remove and dispose the old doors. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448.
This segment of Coffee In is sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
Is your relationship with your bank in a rut? Might be time for someone new. At Navigant Credit Union, we offer better rates, fewer fees, and support that puts you first. Don't put it off. Join Navigant Credit Union today. Federally insured by NCUA.
All right, it is Coffee In here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Tim Draper could not be here today. Melissa Smith couldn't be here, but John Ward's here, and former mayor of the town of Cumberland. Bill Murray's here. And John, you brought in your piece of paper. I don't want to get to this. It's all about the what dogs are biting you.
Oh, yes. Man bites dog. No.
Yes.
The Pawtucket edition of the Valley Breeze is out on Wednesdays, along with North Providence. And the Pawtucket edition includes something I found interesting, which is the tally of the breeds of dogs reported for the bites that were reported to animal control. And, of course, the first item on the list is unknowns, and there were 33 of them. But out of 144 that have breeds associated with it, the first one is Pit Bull at 35, unknown is 33. Well, that's 68. That's almost half of the total. And then the rest of it's broken out among probably 25 different breeds, none of which have more than 8, which is the German Shepherd and then Husky. And then coming in fourth, that vicious Chihuahua. But they're pretty aggressive dogs, so they'll have a tendency to bite, but they'll scratch your ankle. And then Labrador Retrievers, which sometimes, if you get in their face, can get up.
How many on that?
The Labrador Retrievers, 5. American Pit Bull, American Bulldog, 4. Shih Tzu, another monster breed, 4. Dachshund, another aggressive beast, 3. And then it's a Shiba Inu. I don't even know what that is.
What about Cocker Spaniels?
And then
is that on the
Boxer,
list?
Miniature Dobermans has 3.
Oh.
Cattle Dog, Beagle, Jack Russell, Rottweiler. Rottweiler's only 2.
Wow.
Toy Poodles, English Bulldog, Shar-Peis, Extra Large Bully Dog, whatever that is. Schnauzer.
Schnauzers are nasty. Cocker Spaniels?
Cocker Spaniels, no, I don't even see it on the list.
We
do have a Yorkshire Terrier. Akita, which is
it's like a husky.
It's a husky, but it's that can be aggressive. That's only one. And a black-mouthed cur.
What the
A lot
heck?
of people don't know what a black-mouthed cur is. I actually, my daughter-in-law has been, what do you call it? Taking care of dogs.
Fostering
dogs.
Yeah.
And the last couple she had were a couple of females, and one of them, they're a black-mouthed cur, and that's all they are. It's like generally a brown-colored dog, light brown-colored dog.
How big are they?
Except the snout's black.
Okay.
How big are they?
Probably 25 to 40 pounds, depending on whether
so
it's a male
small,
or female. It's a small breed of
medium,
dog.
maybe.
It's not a big breed of dog.
I'm surprised at the lab because I have 3 We have 3 labs in our family. Well, my kids have them.
Yeah, like
And
No
they're-
problems.
they're so
gum you
docile.
they'll gum you to death.
The only time I think many of these breeds, most of the time, like Chihuahua, I had a Chihuahua mixed dog, and the kids got 3 of my grandchildren got nipped in the cheek.
Yep.
Because when they were very young, they run around like banshees.
Yeah.
And this poor dog is sitting on the sofa, minding its own business, and Chihuahuas sort of react quickly.
They're nervous.
And so when they
They're
come
nervous.
running over to
Yeah.
the sofa and someone's chasing them, and then their face
Oh,
is
yeah.
right in the dog,
It's chaos.
the dog's reaction is to simply reach out and nip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Stay away
you'd
from
grab
it.
the cheek, and they'd scream, and they'd have a pink mark on their cheek.
Yeah.
Now, if that was a pit bull, you did that too, half your face would be gone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
and
I had
that's why
that. I had that with the Cocker Spaniel with my younger kid, the grandkids, and they're nervous. The Cocker Spaniel.
But a lot of these dogs, oftentimes, I'll guarantee you, the reaction is either that nervousness with little kids running too fast and getting too close, or the ones that don't want you in their food. And kids
Oh, you
sometimes
never
get
go
too
near
close
that.
to, like,
Right.
when I was a kid, there was a neighbor that had a German Shepherd, and one of the kids in the family got their face down there with the German Shepherd while he was eating
Oh,
dinner,
boy.
and that
Not
dog
good.
bit off a chunk of his ear.
Oh,
Because you don't mess with their food.
With the
right.
food.
Certain breeds, you don't mess with their food.
I don't
so
think
I'm
any.
sure some of these.
I think you gotta be
these-
careful
the
of any
incident
dog.
was about food.
Yeah, any dog.
My sister had a dog like that, very gentle, but she said, "Watch this," and then she was the owner, and she just put her hand near the dog dish,
Oh, yeah.
and you could hear the dog
Growl.
Growling.
It's got the-
Okay,
We
you
actually
go away.
we actually did that with the dog we have now, which is couldn't fit in any of these categories because when I did his DNA, he's got about 12 different breeds. I call him a purebred mutt.
Yeah,
He's a-
really.
He's a Heinz variety.
But
Yeah,
he's
57,
but
yeah.
what we did when he first came to the house was when we would feed him. My wife especially would do this just to get him over it. She would literally reach into his bowl and grab food and put it in his mouth. And she'd
Yeah,
play
yeah.
with the
Oh,
food
to get used to it.
and inject yourself into the process, so the dog gets used to persons being around them while they're
Right,
eating.
right, right.
And so now, if you go up and you could pet him while he's eating, you could get your face down there. He won't even
Won't
flinch.
bother.
He'll just keep
All right.
eating.
Well, I asked you about the labs. Well, we've had labs, and the big dogs, 80,
Yeah.
90 pounds, 100 pounds. And the kids would walk around, you know how the kids walk around
Oh,
with
yeah,
a
they-
cupcake or something like
Yeah.
that. And you look at the labs, and they're all drooling, but never took it out of their hands.
all right.
Never. So we always had a good luck. I
All
couldn't
right.
say the same for the Cocker Spaniel, though.
Well, we got a couple of beauties in the news here in Rhode Island.
Geniuses, no
yeah,
doubt.
geniuses. The man that was a suspect charged in the assault and kidnapping of an elderly Coventry woman. This is when he followed home from the Wendy's and then assaulted her and then threw her in the trunk. I can't imagine an 80-year-old person in the trunk of a car. How terrible!
Better yet, try to put yourself in the brain of the person who would do that.
Well, he stole it, and it was,
What brain?
And then he drove her car with her, and it left her in a wooded area in Smithfield after
Yeah.
he tied a belt around her neck, thinking she was going to die, and she didn't. And she got help and was able to point out who it was, and now he's going to prison. He pled guilty to all this stuff as well. So,
Did it say what the prison term is?
no,
It's quite high. Like I thought I saw
Maybe-
40 years or
For
something.
me, it would be like 200-300 years.
Yeah, no, it's like 40.
Is it 40?
I thought
All right.
I thought something like that.
Till death do us part.
And then
maybe.
down in South Kingstown, have you ever seen this, Bill or John? Where the town councilor in South Kingstown has been charged with simple assault in connection with an incident
Yeah.
that happened at a town meeting.
Oh, yeah.
He went after somebody. Jay Wegamont was charged and arraigned on Tuesday. Narragansett Republican Town Committee Chairman Anthony Delania claims Wegamont physically confronted him over a social media post.
And
Why don't you do?
apparently somebody had their phone going.
And you can see the video.
Well,
They'll
they-
get up and go
that's
down.
on.
Kind of hard to deny.
Well, I had that in Cumberland. I had the councilman. I won't mention his name. He's still active in the Rhode Island Senate. But he got up and went after my finance director
During a meeting.
During a meeting, he got up and walked behind the president's chair, and I jumped up, and the sergeant at arms jumped up to get between them. But he he was after
going
this
after him?
finance director
Wow.
because the finance director made him look foolish, which was not hard to do. and but in any case, we're looking at it once. I'm going, wow. But that's the trouble now is that nobody settles it like in the side.
No.
See, that's why people have to understand the true value of sarcasm.
Well,
It's a way to settle things.
I used to get myself in trouble a little bit, so I can't say much.
So he's due back in court July 3rd, and we'll see where
Hey,
that goes from
now,
there.
combining those two situations,
Yeah.
most disturbing, the dogs and people being assaulted and such, extremely disturbing that fill in the blank folks with the worst thing you can call a human being, when he killed the state senator and her husband.
Oh,
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah.
He shot the frickin' dog.
He did?
And
I
they
didn't
had
hear
to
about
put the
that.
dog down because it wasn't going to survive.
No
A
kidding.
Labrador. A Labrador that they used to help dogs that they were fostering.
Service dog.
A service dog.
Yeah, yeah.
And this,
I didn't hear that.
This,
Wow.
fill in the blank with the worst word you could think of for a human, actually not just killed them,
I didn't hear about that.
but he shot the dog. And yesterday I saw the news report that they couldn't save the dog. He had to
it's
put him
too
down.
much. Wow.
No
That's
kidding.
too bad.
I didn't hear
And,
that.
you know, to my wife, that's like,
The worst.
okay, I understand he had a problem with the humans, but there's no excuse for shooting the dog, so put him to death.
Unless the dog was attacking him and he was trying to defend himself.
No,
Labrador?
I don't know.
Labrador
Lab would
Labrador,
not.
a
No,
trained
no.
Labrador would
I'd
never
argue
do
that.
that.
one.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
It was
Yep.
probably just nearby,
Was
wagging his
there.
tail, wondering when I can have fun with you.
Well, look at how sad
Okay.
if sad you have some of these police dogs that are shot and killed.
Yeah.
It's a sad deal that whoever is sure he didn't shoot a human, but these dogs are.
This
I mean,
is where it's sad that we have FCC rules, so we can't say what we really think.
yeah, that's right.
All right. So, if you were on flight 1834 yesterday at Southwest Airlines, you're like, they got a flat tire. It's basically what happened at Green Airport. They blew out a tire, really. But luckily enough, I don't know if it's lucky enough, is when they were taking off. And they were flying from
Yeah, but then they have
Providence.
to land.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, they were flying to Baltimore, but they're going down the runway, and they blew a tire. And so now they had to hop back to the terminal. So
they were able to stop it before
Yes.
they actually took off.
Yes,
So that's
yeah.
good.
So that part's good, but now you got to get off.
Except
you
for
gotta,
the passengers.
You got to get other accommodations to get on other flights that are going to Baltimore, and how do we do that? So just a pain. But nothing bad happened, and we just could put a new tire on it. I'm sure other stuff has to be done as well. But I do worry about that. Not tires getting a flat tire. It amazes me that planes land and nothing happens with. Well, it does, but the tires can uphold the weight of the airplane.
Long time ago, I had a similar experience when I was going to Harrisburg. I had to fly down to Baltimore and then took what was maybe back in the day, it was a propeller job, 20-passenger deal.
US Air?
From Baltimore to Harrisburg.
Yeah,
I don't
probably
know,
US
some
Air,
small
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And,
Puddle jumper.
Yeah.
And we took off. And all of a sudden, we were banking and turning around again. And it's like, what's going on? And the pilot comes on and says that we've had a little trouble with the landing gear, so we're going to have to go back and we're going to
if they can't
have it taken
retract
care
it.
of. They couldn't retract one of the wheels.
One, okay.
Not both, one.
Well,
So, of course, they go land. Some mechanics come racing out. They do some work.
And you're back in
we're
the
ready
air.
to take off and go in the air. We didn't have to change planes, nothing.
You didn't have to get off the plane?
They did the work right there.
Oh, well.
So then you take off, and you can feel the wheels come up, and you start thinking, but will they come down again?
Yeah, that's a
good question because we didn't test that. Did we?
We didn't check it out. No.
That's what,
No.
especially those puddle jumpers. I took a lot of them. I used to fly into Pittsburgh and then go.
Good Lord. Are they loud or what?
Well, that's why I said U.S. Air. That's what it was, U.S. Air.
Was it still USA? Was it USA then?
It was back in my time.
It was Allegheny Airlines.
It was Allegheny. I had been on that plane, but I always remember flying into someplace in Pennsylvania, and they had a circle because there were cattle near the runway. and I'm saying, what? But that was they
can't hit the cows.
No, you can't hit them. Nope.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee Hand program. More coming your way. This segment of Coffee Hand's been sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
Is your relationship with your bank in a rut? Might be time for someone new. At Navigant Credit Union, we offer better rates, fewer fees, and support that puts you first. Don't put it off. Join Navigant Credit Union today. Federally insured by NCUA.
WOON Woonsocket Radio. ON, AM, and FM.
As drivers, we encounter motorcycles on the road every day, and motorcycle safety is a two-way street. So give motorcycles extra space when stopping and starting. Check your mirrors and blind spots. Share the road, but never try and share a lane. Every rider could be a father, a son or a brother, a mother, a daughter or a sister, or the whole world to someone very special. Brought to you by the Rhode Island Police Chiefs Association and the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association.
Whoa. More fiber?
What?
Down here, buddy. It's me, your spoon. Constipation with belly pain still coming back?
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, but Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
ON Radio.
It's Coffee In on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Bill Murray and John Ward. And I know, Bill, you know the mayor of East Providence, Bob DeSilva.
I was just with him last night.
All right.
Yep.
Well, he's not happy because a city resident, a East Providence resident, has been arrested because he went up to that pride flag crosswalk,
spun his wheels,
and did skid marks across it. And but I'm thinking, if it wasn't the pride colors, let's say it was the U.S. flag that was there, would this be gaining as much notoriety as it has? Because we had the story yesterday, and now we get the story today.
It would be with the mayor because I know him,
Would you?
and he's
Okay.
he's a very very dedicated, great guy, and I don't care where it is, he would be on it. He's a former policeman, by the way.
Okay.
And but I don't know whether the media would do it. Look at the flags that are being that are being burned in L.A.
Yeah.
and nobody's making a kick on that. Come on.
Let's get our facts straight here. No mayor worth his salt would ever allow an American flag to be painted on a sidewalk and have cars ride over it.
All right.
That's
because
true,
it would be
too.
absolutely inappropriate to
Yeah.
have the U.S. flag
That's
on the
true.
street. But barring that, your answer is probably true. It probably would not be as big a deal, though it could never happen.
Well, let's pick another country, Spain. If we have this,
Mexico. Oh.
No, that's Mexico.
No.
This is Spain's flag is on the.
No,
for whatever
I'd
reason.
still bet on the mayor would
Right.
do something. He's that type of person. He's a very.
I mean, you're putting it there to either recognize
Right.
or honor someone. So
Yes.
it's not appropriate for somebody to be putting skid
No, it's
marks all
vandalism.
over it. It's vandalism.
I didn't know if it'd be.
and he doesn't
the big
stand.
story that
And he
it is.
doesn't stand for a lot. I have to say,
Yeah.
he's pretty. He's pretty aggressive. And
The question is, would it be part of a media headline? Not so much whether he would do something. He would. It would be
Yeah.
a violation of the law, and somebody would
well-
do something. Once it became a media headline, then he has a certain obligation to respond to it
Respond.
in order
Right.
to bring some validity to it.
All right, moving on to other things. There's still no verdict in the Karen Reed trial. The longer it goes, who does it?
Please.
Who's it favor?
Hung
John.
jury.
You think
Same
that-
as last time.
same
They
as
were
last
even
time.
asking questions of the judge
They
about
are.
hung jury questions. So yeah,
Wow.
there's no.
Another
They
there's
just,
no-
they just did that, didn't they?
there's
Yeah,
no
that was
guilt-
that was
there's-
yesterday.
There's no guilty. There's no not guilty. There's,
All
we can't-
my girls in the family, daughter-in-laws and
Yeah.
my own daughters. My wife hasn't heard one thing. They talk all the time. My wife's sitting there. I was out last night, and I come home, and she's on the computer. She's watching the entire. She wouldn't even say hello to me. And I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, I'm watching this because the girls have been talking about it so much.
Oh, the closing
And
arguments?
I went to bed at 10 o'clock, but I was still in front of the computer watching that whole from the beginning,
it from the beginning to the end, okay.
and the end. And I haven't had the chance. I left this morning without her, talking to her. But my girls they're texting back and forth, and I made the mistake. My oldest daughter, I said, she's guilty. And she jumped all over me. I said, I'm getting out of this one because I don't know anything going on.
She may be guilty as sin,
yeah.
but the failure of the police department in performing a proper duty and
Exactly.
investigation is so egregious that it makes, O.J. Simpson's basis for being found not guilty
Canton is known for that,
is
John.
minor compared to the inadequacies of this Canton Police Department.
Yeah.
And
They didn't even go into the house.
They didn't even go into the house. The guy was on the front lawn. They didn't even knock on the door.
I would fire the police chief in 2
By the
minutes.
way, the guy that lives in the house is a cop.
Yeah, that's
So
right,
we don't want to bother him.
And why nobody came out of the house to check?
Yeah, no kidding.
And seeing a body what's the guy, 6'3" or something? Come on.
And they had a dog, but they got rid of it right after.
Yeah, they had dog bites.
There's
The dog
so
bites,
many things
Did
that
you-
are wrong with this case. It can't.
So if it's another hung jury, if we have another mistrial, will she be tried again a third time?
I don't think they'd allow it. I don't think
I
they'd
think
allow
they've
it.
used up every resource possible.
Yeah.
They brought in specialists they didn't have the first time.
So mistrial then
they'd be
you're
wasting.
free.
They'd be wasting the Commonwealth's good money by doing it. I think.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they won't do it though.
But that'll leave.
No.
No, but that'll also leave a big question for years to
always.
come.
Always.
Is
Always
that
hang out
that you're just going to sit with her? But hey, listen.
Here's my question: how will the judge react? Because her
she'll be
bias, is so severe.
So evident,
Absolutely,
It's
yes.
like I don't know if she's just jealous of her looks or something. She's just wild to have
If-
this woman found guilty.
Yeah. Now, if they come back with a hung jury, can she say, "Okay, then I'll
No, she
determine
can't.
innocent or guilty"?
No, she's not allowed
No,
to do that.
She's not
She-
okay. 'Cause
all
she would
all
just-
she could do is if they do a guilty verdict, she could overturn it. If she felt that the evidence was not sufficient for a guilty verdict and she could point to it, she can overturn it. A hung jury she can't do anything about. A not guilty verdict she can't do anything about.
It's just the mistrial,
So
and,
then
and we're done.
th-
All right.
they. I think what they said is that two of the things are not guilty, right? Did they say that?
Oh,
Like-
I don't mean on
I
some
think
of the charges.
well,
that
on
they've
the
already made
charges. That's what they asked her the question. So on the third one, something about would it be a hung? Then all the charges fall together. She couldn't answer it, by the way. Something like that went down. But
all right. In
Well,
case
there is that. There's a lot of charges involved. It's not as simple as one charge.
Oh, I know.
yes
It's
or
just
no.
charged with a subcharge, and
That-
subcharge underneath
I guess.
that.
that former medical examiner from Rhode Island did a good job.
I think she did a great job.
And I
heard
love
some of her
that
testimony.
one answer is she said, they said something about, well, if he was going 40 miles an hour, and she said, they didn't hit her.
Yeah.
They didn't hit her.
That was the best part. It's
Was
like,
that good?
It's like and he kept going after that.
Yeah.
Well, if the car,
Yeah.
oh, but it didn't
It
happen.
didn't hit her.
Oh,
Yeah.
it didn't hit her.
And she
No,
was
this
so
wasn't from a car.
She was so cool.
great.
She was so cool about it.
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah.
It was real good.
All right, I know you've been probably concerned about this, John, but you've been very happy. Police in Atlantic City have recovered the second of two instruments that were stolen from the band Heart. Did you hear about this?
No.
Heart is playing, Ann and Nancy Wilson and their players are down playing at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City, and someone went into their dressing room and stole a guitar and a mandolin. Yeah, and they they recovered the first instrument rather quickly, but now they've got the second one. Police say detectives found the vintage 1966 Gibson mandolin after they received information about who may have had it. The person surrendered the mandolin to police without incident. Band member Paul Moak has played the mandolin for more than 25 years. A second instrument, a custom-made Telecaster, was recovered last week. They were stolen when Hart was playing a concert at the Hard Rock.
I get the custom-made issue. A '66 Gibson
Yeah. Gibson mandolin, yeah.
is vintage. Is that because of who's using it, or is it any '66 Gibson mandolin is vintage? If,
I think any.
If Johnny in the street corner is slamming
playing
it in his garage, is it still a vintage Gibson?
Well, they got him back.
They got it back. That's
And
good.
the first one was it was like Nancy Wilson's favorite guitar.
Yeah,
And
well, that's-
and she said musicians become one with their instruments.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
She goes,
right,
That,
right.
That's
Yeah,
mine. And that's one I like the most. And please, can I get it back? And that one came back
Except
quickly.
what's his face that would smash every one of them on
Well.
the stage. But, you know, that doesn't count.
John Entwistle. All right, so and they're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Jaws on Martha's Vineyard, where they filmed the movie. The movie that put Martha's Vineyard on the map. Well, okay. The Martha's Vineyard Museum has created an exhibit called Jaws at 50: A Deeper Dive. The exhibit will be up in the museum until September 7th. If you happen to head to the island this coming summer, you might want to go check it out.
No.
No? You're okay with that,
It'd be the last thing I did if I went to
I like the movie, but not that much.
Martha's Vineyard. There's a lot of other things to do there.
All right. I think it's funny, Steven Spielberg came up with the idea, hey, let's go film it on the real ocean. And, when they get out
What
there
a
and started
mess.
doing this, they said, who came up with this stupid idea?
Oh, yeah, is that right?
Oh, I've read some
Yeah,
stories
it was-
about some of the
it
things
was
that
bad.
happened in that production, and
Yeah.
it's the one I read just yesterday actually was about the fact that Robert Shaw actually knocked down a few drinks before before he did that soliloquy about
Indianapolis.
the Indianapolis, and so he was actually a little bit tipsy.
Oh,
And
is
I
that
could just
right?
imagine
Yes.
Robert
Oh.
Shaw a little bit tipsy.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, that and the other movie I loved him in was
The
when
Sting.
when he played Doyle Lonigan.
Yeah, in The Sting.
In The Sting, he was perfect in that movie.
And
You follow?
yeah, he would come in Jaws. He would come back the next day, and would ask the other actors like Richard Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider, "Was I okay yesterday?"
Oh, was I okay?
Because he knew he was filming. Did it come out okay? It's perfect. Oh, okay, good.
Well, he
couldn't
was.
remember.
I think the thing. Yeah, I read something about him yesterday. There's a couple of things in play here. He was actually a film producer.
Okay.
At the time he was doing that.
Oh.
So he was aware of production and he was nervous about production. So it would make sense for him to ask those questions. And the other thing they said was that on the set and off the set, when they were part of the crew, he intentionally antagonized.
Spielberg?
No, what's his name? Dreyfuss.
Oh, yeah, they didn't get
He
along,
wanted
right?
him angry at him.
Yeah.
Because the characters weren't supposed to mesh.
Oh, okay.
And so he
okay.
wanted to make sure his anger came
Kept
through.
Oh, wow.
And so he
Well,
was
it did.
he was annoying to him and insulting him after the camera
Yeah.
shut down. He'd insult him and
And
he'd
keep
make
going.
jokes about him and he'd basically get him angry.
Yeah.
So that by the time they go to do scenes, you could see that
He was still angry at him.
rage coming
Yeah.
through.
Wow.
And he
Smart, huh?
and he said it's exactly what he wanted to have happen.
Amazing.
Well, in case you were wondering, the curfew that was imposed in downtown Los Angeles is over for now. One of your favorite mayors, John, Karen
So now,
Bass.
Now mostly peaceful. Yes,
the
avowed Marxist
was
who
no
actually
problem.
blew up a building
Yeah,
in New
there's
York
no-
in her career. What a wonderful human being.
She lifted the curfew on Tuesday, but said safety is her priority, and she would reinstate it if it becomes necessary.
Well, I think she's done a great job because she wasn't around for the fires. She was down celebrating in Africa or something. So, I mean, I think at least she's there. And there's nothing happened. It's automatic when people go in and break into,
frankly-
4 or 5 stores?
Frankly, she should be in prison. Not
Yeah.
in the mayor's office.
I'm with you on that
I
one.
mean, she committed crimes
Yeah.
and ran an organization of Marxists that committed crimes. And I don't know how these people in Los Angeles thought that she would make a good mayor.
Oh.
I have to assume that maybe there was a visitation by the Virgin Mary at night to every person in the city that said, "Please forgive her
Yeah.
because she's repented and she's okay now."
She's a nice
But
person.
she's awful.
Oh,
Is she up for re-election this
I
year?
think
But it's California, so what do you
Yeah.
expect?
she'll probably get reelected.
She
By the
probably-
way,
she probably
yeah,
will.
I don't know when she's up for it.
And I think the curfew zone, it's actually just the curfew zone, it's not citywide. And I think the zone is simply a
It
curfew
just says downtown LA.
around
Well,
downtown. Well,
was it-
there's downtown and there's downtown. It's a
Yeah.
big city. I believe it has to do with the surroundings around any of the federal buildings in
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is another overstatement by much of the media where the Marines came in. Well, the Marines came in and they were stationed at federal buildings to protect the federal buildings.
But did they?
That's perfectly within their
I
authority.
thought they were being trained. They never did come in. The National
The
Guard
Marines-
was there. The
National
National Guard was
National
protecting
Guard
it.
was,
thought
that
the
was
Marines came.
federalized. And
Did
oh, by
they
the way,
come? Oh, I didn't.
Trump won that case in court.
Yeah.
He was
Yep.
allowed to federalize the National Guard to protect the federal buildings, and that's where they were stationed.
Right.
And I believe they had a few Marines that actually were assigned
Okay.
to stand outside the federal buildings,
Just
the
in
ICE
case.
headquarters, and just protect the building.
Yeah.
They never mingled with the crowd. They never interacted with the crowds. They were just there to protect the
The
building.
other joke is what a pair, the governor and the mayor.
And the mayor, yeah.
That's
out
a
there in
pair.
California. So,
Yeah.
all right, this will make your grandkids happy, Bill. The deadline to extend TikTok is being extended. So the kids will be very
wonderful.
happy that TikTok is not going away.
An American tragedy.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes. All right, that'll do it for the show for today. Thank you very much for listening in, everyone. Bill Murray, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
John Ward, thanks for being here as
Hey,
well.
when next we meet, it will be summer.
Yes.
And we will be at the tail end of the first heat wave because it'll be the third day in the 90-degree
90,
range.
yep.
So,
All right.
Stay cool.
Have a beautiful day and enjoy the God-given day.
Very good. This is Joe Callahan. Stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do your members coming up next, and I'll talk to you again this afternoon on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. The U.S. is warning Americans not to go to the Middle East. Mark Mayfield with more.
The warning comes after a Fox News report that the White House is now considering an offensive strike against Iran.
Not to travel to Israel or Iraq, and not to travel to Iran under any circumstances.
State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said the Israel-Iran conflict is a rapidly evolving situation. Bruce said the State Department has set up a task force to help U.S. citizens in the Middle East stay informed. She again reiterated that President Trump has said time and time again Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Jamie Rubin says airstrikes by the U.S. might not be enough to achieve U.S. goals.
The only way I would really be sure that Iran's Fordo facility and other facilities were destroyed would be if I knew we had commandos on the ground. That's called a ground war. That's an invasion. That's a whole nother level.
Members of Congress on both sides of the aisle are looking to limit U.S. involvement in the conflict. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine has introduced legislation that aims to limit President Trump's war power. On the House side, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie has also introduced legislation arguing this is not our war. President Trump says he has no plans to call Minnesota Governor Tim Walz after Saturday's deadly shooting of a state lawmaker. Trump told reporters Tuesday that Walz, in his words, doesn't have a clue and asked, "Why would I call him?" A spokesperson for Walz said the governor wishes that President Trump would be a president for all Americans. Authorities in Washington, D.C. say a 39-year-old woman was struck and killed by a semi-truck carrying tanks from Saturday's military parade. Police say the accident happened Monday night as the tanks were being returned to a rail yard in Maryland. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Lou Mandeville here with a look at sports. Red Sox were shut out 8-0 by the Mariners last night. Cal Raleigh hit a grand slam off Walker Buehler. Sox were held to just 2 hits in the game. Marcelo Meyer and recently called up Nate Eaton got them for Boston. Yankees shut out by the Angels 4-0. Kyle Hendricks and 3 relievers combined to shut out New York for their 3rd consecutive game. Diamondbacks fall to the Blue Jays 5-4. It was the Orioles over the Rays 5-1. Colton Cowser homered in the win. Woo Sox topped the Bison at Polar Park last night 5-4 your final. Nick Sogard homered, and Wilyer Abreu drove in a run in a rehab start for Worcester. Stanley Cup Finals goes to the Florida Panthers, who win for the 2nd consecutive year. They beat Edmonton 5-1 last night. Sammy Reinhart had 4 goals. Sam Bennett was named tournament MVP, and Brad Marchand wins his 2nd cup, this time with the Florida Panthers. That is your look at sports for Win Sports. I'm Lou Mandeville.
If you're traveling during your summer vacation, State Line Service reminds you that you're sharing the road with record numbers of motorists, many of whom are not familiar with the area. So be extra alert, observe posted speed limits, and expect the unexpected. From State Line Service and Tire Center, your full diagnostic center for late model as well as older vehicles, including the diagnosis of those check engine light reminders. Check tire pressure for better mileage, keep air filters clean, and always keep your vehicle well maintained. You'll save in the long run. State Line Service and Tire Center, a family business. 1209 Social Street, Woonsocket at the State Line.
This ON 1240 forecast brought to you by